Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Allincrypto here, and today we are going to be delivering a short and sweet daily market update, just getting you guys ready for what we believe is going to be a very bullish month. And we're not going to do too much in this video because it is Easter Sunday, and I want to wish everybody a happy Easter, whether you observe it or not. I hope you're spending some time with your families. And this is why we're going to keep this one short and sweet. I'm sure many of you have better things to do than listen to me on YouTube talking about crypto. But the cryptocurrency market does not sleep. It is a 24/7 market that we have to observe. And I believe we are setting up for a pretty damn bullish April. And we're going to be talking about that in this video. We're going to be starting things off really by just recapping. And let's dive straight into it as we want to keep this one short and sweet in regards to where we are in relation to the halvening. And there's this beautiful sort of fundamental narrative taking place now with Bitcoin, because we are 19 days away from the halvening. So it's 18 days actually as we speak. This was from yesterday. And we are seeing unbelievable demand. The Bitcoin ETF, and Larry Fink himself has said this, is the fastest growing ETF in history. There is a great awakening taking place, ladies and gentlemen. People are waking up to the Ponzi enslaving fiat systems, and they are being offered a alternative. Now, I am a little bit dubious to who is perhaps behind the real intent behind this alternative. We know we're moving to this kind of, or the agenda is to move to a one world global system. And Bitcoin actually has some properties that, you know, a global transparent ledger, you know, there's, I think there's a little bit of overlap there, but what Bitcoin has been is nothing short of a success, and it has provided, we perhaps don't feel it as much in the West, in the UK and the US, but we still feel it with the inflation that we see and the proliferation of everything and how your wage doesn't stretch as far. But across the world, Bitcoin has been nothing short of a success, and it really is almost like divine intervention that we have Bitcoin, and we are 19 days or 18 days now away from the halvening. We're seeing a huge demand for Bitcoin. I believe that appetite is only going to grow, certainly as we see liquidity and proliferation of the debt system come back in. We've spoken about this macro. We've spoken about our opinion on actually the debt markets, the 20-year treasuries, and how the Fed is likely going to step back in, because we're seeing a lot of bullish signs. We haven't been in the buy bonds where diamonds, ding-dong camp. We've been in the opposite camp up until recently, and now we're bullish on bonds. Who's going to be buying those bonds at a time when they're bringing rates down and they're going to continue to proliferate at an unfathomable level, the highest level to date? Well, it's going to have to be the Fed, and that's going to be liquidity. That lines up with the global liquidity cycle. It also lines up with technically what we're looking at for many different areas in the market. And of course, Bitcoin has its own fundamental narrative that's going to see it do well. So this is going to be a bullish year. Actually, April, in our assessment, is going to be bullish. If you look at April, typically, it's one of the most bullish months of the year outside, of course, October and November. And we have October and November to look forward to later on this year. And remember, I am more positioned in altcoins than I am Bitcoin. I believe altcoins are going to offer higher return. Even though I was getting my group, I do have a Patreon if anyone wants to join. There's a link in the description, back into the crypto space. Back at the start of 2023 when Bitcoin was 15, 16K, I could have played the Bitcoin dominance trade a lot better. I didn't, but I do think we haven't even really seen an alt season yet. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. So get ready for a pretty damn bullish April. We've had a really bullish year thus far, so I do think April's going to be pretty darn bullish. You also have February that's perhaps a little bit more bullish, but April's typically a better month than March, and then May, so we'll see. There's a big saying out there, sell in May and come back in St. Leger's Day, that we'll have to deal with, but I think there's a great fire underneath Bitcoin's belly. Let's just talk a little bit about technically where we're at, so you guys will know the kind of patterns that we've outlaid for you guys and the technical roadmap that we've set forward. We have that technical roadmap for altcoins now, and they're kind of further back than Bitcoin is. But Bitcoin, in our assessment, remember, we looked at this key level and the interaction, and so this is likely going to form a right shoulder. We broke that with momentum. We had no idea the fundamental news was going to be the driving, or we knew there's always going to be fundamentals driving this, but we knew based on these patterns that institutions were positioning for the news that we've had, Bitcoin being the greatest ever ETF to be facilitated. And we do think Bitcoin's going towards $151,000. And we ultimately expect this to play out. There's going to be pullbacks along the way. Bitcoin has just ran into its all-time high. If we look at what it did previously, it just consolidated for a period. It's very much doing the same thing. And actually, if we drop down the time frames, I'm bullish on Bitcoin here. So we did have this wedge-esque structure that you fell out of, typically a bearish structure. Small continuation here. And now you're actually just kind of setting up again to kind of squeeze higher, in my opinion. I really do think that, you know, if we look at what Bitcoin's currently doing, you're really squeezing in here. I think this is going to be a small fractal that's going to take you higher and potentially see new all-time highs for Bitcoin in the coming week. Remember, it is the first day of April tomorrow, so be aware of April Fools. We may even be looking to play some pranks on you guys, so just watch out for that. Stay alert. And if we look at the total too, this is a chart I don't see anybody doing any analysis on. This is the total market cap excluding Bitcoin. This is currently sat at $1.1 trillion, basically 1.2. Remember, we were expecting an interaction at this key level of significance that would likely form a right armpit that would lead to a right shoulder. You can see this puny little right shoulder that's being clearly bought up. That's likely going to see Bitcoin, not Bitcoin, sorry. The total market cap, everything excluding Bitcoin, run to $3.7 trillion. That is a bull market, guys. And that's a 3x of the entire space. There are altcoins that are going to do significantly better. We've got lots of altcoins right now that are setting up and looking for higher prices, like HBAR. We've kept you up to date on ICP. We even did a video on Solana to many people's distaste yesterday. And we just said, look, leave your bias at the door when it comes to this kind of stuff. You know, you want to invest based on what's going to make you money. If you're here to change the world and because you genuinely believe some of these projects will, that's fine. You know, it's why we support projects like Cardano and projects like that. But from an investment point of view, you know, we're bullish on Solana. We're bullish on the majority of altcoins, and the total market cap kind of confirms that. We are awaiting what we believe is going to be, and we think is very likely going to be, the ETF of Ethereum approved. So last week we had heating up in that kind of arena. You're currently at support. We're expecting a bit of a bounce here. Now, bounce on ETH BTC kind of gives a broader, you know, ETH BTC isn't going to be going up if the entire market's going down, because Bitcoin, of course, is still that tide that rises and sinks all ship, and Ether will sell off to more of a degree. So this is perhaps another reason to be a little bit more bullish. If Ethereum's getting ground against Bitcoin, it's got to be in a bullish environment. Also, we've got ETH DOM. This is just sort of signaling what's to come. And we haven't fulfilled you guys on our others DOM in a long time. Lots of people don't look at these charts. We like to look at the market in or from a number of different perspectives to help us, you know, gain a real clear picture. And you can see how beautifully technically this has been playing out for us. Remember, we were spotting this, then we were spotting this in much the same way we were spotting it for Bitcoin and altcoins, and now we think others. So everything outside the top 10 is going to move to about 19% of the overall market. So it's a bullish period we have ahead of us. We'll see how April turns out. Again, going back to this, you've got this kind of beautiful supply and demand fundamental dynamic taking place where the new supply of Bitcoin is going to be cut in half. The interesting thing for me to perhaps comment on that is, you know, we don't just own cryptos, we own crypto-related stocks. You know, Coinbase has been one that's done amazing for us. I have an entire group of people that are on that train. You know, we're accumulating in the sort of $40, $30 range. It's now at, where is Coinbase? 265, we think it's going to 400. So this is Marathon. So we're actually also, despite the halvening, meaning miners get half the Bitcoin, bullish on Marathon. Beautiful retest. Very much the same as what Bitcoin did, you'll remember. So we think miners are going to do rather well. Hot 8's been a bit of a laggard. You've got things like TeraWolf. There's lots that we look at. Coinbase just progressing to where, you know, we think it's going to go, and just finding support on what's prior resistance. So generally, when you look across the board, things are bullish. Remember, we've got that macro kind of take on things in regards to they're going to be buying bonds up, which means liquidity for the general market. And Bitcoin and crypto is the best positioned asset in this coming liquidity to benefit as a result of it and actually move that financial needle in all of your lives. And that's why we started this channel, because I believe there is a great game being played on all of us through the fiat systems, through a progressive tax system, and it's for your impoverishment. When your governments talk about equality, what they're talking about is everybody being equally poor, not equally rich. Because equally rich, if everyone's equally rich, well, it's a relative term. So what they're trying to do is impoverish you through continued inflation and proliferation of a fiat system that the masses, the poorer, don't have assets to hedge against. It's why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. That is a tax on everybody. And they also, certainly in the UK, they've upped pretty much all taxes. and they've cut things like capital gains allowance, all of this kind of stuff. It's all for your impoverishment. They're not doing it for your benefit. And some may say, okay, well, if you earn more money, you should pay more. I can kind of see a little bit of merit in that argument. It's flawed, though, however, when you really look into the dynamics of it. And there are negative benefits of doing that. Negative and benefits don't go together. But really what the tax system is about, what the proliferation of the monetary policy is about, is your impoverishment. And crypto offers, I believe, the fastest horse out of that burning building, the fastest man out or woman out of that burning building. And you're going to be the furthest ahead when that building blows up. You know, the people behind you who are in maybe different assets are going to get caught in it. People with bonds, I think, are really going to get caught in it. And there's going to be jubilees that take place and mass bailouts, which is going to make for a really interesting dynamic. But I've rambled on for way too long, guys. Get ready for, in my opinion, a very bullish April. I'm wishing you all a happy Easter. And on that note, I'm going to love and leave you and see you in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. See you in the next one.